This week on the podcast, we are venturing into our second week of the Conjuring universe as we talk about 2014's Annabelle. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dissect That Film Podcast, where we dissect the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite films and film franchises. I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, my wonderful co-host, Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming.
Hello.
Hello.
What are you doing?
Is he jerking off two dicks, or is he skiing? We'll never know.
We're not even a minute into the episode. Not even a minute. YouTube's like, yep. Nothing.
I'm going with skiing because if you're jerking off two dicks that are that small, then they got a problem.
I mean, it's how the guys are I hang out with. We
listen.
Small dick club, dude.
People, you shouldn't be surprised when you listen to this show that something like this might happen right off the fucking rip.
As long as he's here, yes.
I will say this though, like a coworker of ours just did that to us randomly one time, or not actually give us hand jobs, but the gestures I was doing, and the whole skit.
Gotta clarify that, guys.
I have to. Hey, listen. We work with a bunch of guys. You just never know. Sometimes you get lonely. Anyway, he was doing that, and it's like I've been meaning to work that into the show at some point. And it's just like now is the time. Like this is the moment. This has to happen.
What was it? Chicken nuggets?
Okay. Okay. We've done this before. This is chicken nuggets. No, wait. Yeah, this is chicken nuggets, and then this is bananas. This is the universal sign for chicken nuggets and bananas.
I was like, I don't know what universe you guys are in, but
it's universal, not universe. It's different. Let's talk about adult.
All right. So yes, today on the show we are venturing into our second week of talking about the Conjuring universe, and this week it is 2014's Jesus Christ. It's Annabelle, everybody. I got Conjuring on the brain. I almost just said the Conjuring. No, we did that last week.
John, wake up. What's it? Next door, I heard a scream.
Stay here. I'll go check it out.
John? Is everything all right?
Oh my God, you're covered in blood.
Go back inside. It's not mine. It's not. Go back inside and call an ambulance right now. Go!
I like your dolls.
You survived. You don't come out the other side of something like this weaker. What is there left to be scared of?
This is the last of them. How did that get in there? I swear I threw it out.
Things must have got mixed up. There, she fits right in. Come to mommy. There are things happening that I can't explain.
We should talk to someone.
I don't think what you're experiencing is a ghost.
Sometimes demons can attach themselves to objects.
What do I do?
Protect your family.
Who are you?
Oh, maybe I shouldn't have drank all these beers before we started recording.
Oh, you're going to need them apparently.
Makes the episode better. What are you talking about? So yes, we're talking about
Flavor.
Annabelle. This movie was directed by John Leonetti, who was the cinematographer for The Conjuring. Let's see what Mr. Leonetti did before this. He was cinematographer starting off at Child's Play 3 all the way back in 1991.
Christ.
Shut up. I love that movie.
No.
He was the director of one of the best video game movies ever made, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
That's literally what I was saying Christ to, not what you were talking about. I was holy God.
Let's talk about some of the movies he's been a cinematographer for, because he's got a lot of good ones here and some not so good. Like I said, started off with Child's Play 3 in 1991. He did The Mask 1994, did Hot Shots Part 2 in 1993. He did the original Mortal Kombat in 1995.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He did Detroit Rock City, Joe Dirt, Scorpion King.
Good stuff.
He directed the sequel to The Butterfly Effect.
Oh, God.
He was the cinematographer on some James Wan films, such as Dead Silence, Death Sentence. He was also Piranha 3D. He did Insidious, The Conjuring, Insidious Chapter 2. And then he just went on to do directing duties. He started off with Annabelle, like after doing 2 really lousy sequels. He would do Annabelle. He would do Wolves at the Door in 2016. Wish Upon, I don't know any of these movies. I'm just naming them. Wish Upon in 2017. The Silence in 2019. And Lullaby in 2022. So yeah, that's our man, John Leonetti. It was written by Gary Dauberman, who would write for all of the Annabelle movies. He would also write The Nun, Annabelle Comes Home, It Chapter 2. He is an executive producer on The Nun 2, which is coming out this year. And he's supposedly the director, writer, and executive producer for the to-be-determined Salem's Lot remake. And also, he's supposedly the writer for the Train to Busan American remake, which I'm hoping just never happens because we don't need it, because the Train to Busan is just fucking perfection. The movie is technically called The Last Train to New York. I hope it doesn't happen.
I don't want to watch the last Train to Busan because I know what it's about, and I think it would just destroy me, even though it looks really good. And I don't want to see it.
You've never seen Train to Busan?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so good.
I have heard it's so good.
It's one of the best zombie movies I think I've ever seen.
That's fair. It's like when I watched when I was big into zombies at the time. What was it? Quarantine had come out. And I went and watched Wreck, and that just the end of that movie is fucking terrifying.
Wreck,
and I'm just like, it's really good. It's very good. And I'm just like, no.
He wouldn't let me watch it. He's like, you won't want to watch it with me.
No, you
watch
not
it
the end
without
of
me.
it, not the ending.
Listen,
no, absolutely
when you
not.
do a zombie movie, and you are emotional by the end of that zombie movie, you made a great fucking zombie movie.
Yep.
And Train to Busan does that. Wreck does that. You got a kid. There's always a kid involved, and that always just pulls at the heartstrings.
I just can't do it, man. I can't not do it.
James Wan was a producer on this. He literally produces every single movie in this universe. He's the man who started it, for cast, we have Annabelle Wallis, which is hilarious that they cast that. The main actress of this movie is named Annabelle. She would work with James Wan later in 2021's or 2022. I can't remember what year it came out, but she worked with him in Malignant, which is a movie we're going to cover on the show at some point. Like I said, I got a guest in mind for that. But she plays Mia. We have Ward Horton as John. I'm trying to think. I've seen this guy before, and I'm trying to picture him in things, and I'm like, I can't. He was in 13 going on 30, but he was an extra in that. That doesn't mean jack shit. He would return in Annabelle Creation, but I guess that's like in a small part because that's a completely different movie. A lot of television work, so nothing of significance. But we have Tony Amendola as Father Perez. He's been acting since 1985. He was in The Mask of Zorro in 1998. He was in Blow in 2001. He would return for The Legend of Zorro in 2005.
I should ask Brandon. My boss loves Stargate, and I see he was in several episodes of the Stargate series. He'd probably remember him.
And he was in The Land of Before Time, number 45,000, because there's so many of those
Jesus.
goddamn movies. Oh, and he would return.
Why?
He would return in another movie that's in this universe, but we'll talk about that at another time. But yeah, he did a lot of TV work. Todd McFarlane's Spawn. I got to point that out since we did cover Spawn on the show. He was in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. He said he was in Stargate. President Kasparov.
Interesting.
In an episode called Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Okay.
Ooh, what's going on there, Superman? He was in an episode of Seinfeld. Which I love.
Angela knows him from something. She just got
Once
excited.
upon a time, he was Geppetto.
What was he Geppetto in?
Once upon a time.
Oh, Once Upon a
He was
Time.
in
Sorry,
Castlevania.
I missed that. He was in Dexter for 3 episodes. I'm trying to like picture him. I was like, I don't fucking know. I don't know. We have Alfre Woodard, who I mean, she's been acting since the 70s. She has been in a lot of stuff. Things I remember from Scrooged from 1988. Let's see. What do we got here? She was in a Star Trek First Contact. Yep.
I watched that movie in theaters.
The Brave Little Toaster, To the Rescue. Love and Basketball, starring Denzel Washington. I think that's Denzel Washington, right? Yeah, I think that was.
Maybe.
It was in that. Dinosaur, the Disney animated movie.
What character was she in that?
Cleo. I'm guessing that was the lemur mom.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
She was in Captain America: Civil War. She was the voice of Sarabi in the live action Lion King remake. Nothing against her. She was in 12 Years a Slave. She was also in not Iron Fist. She was in Luke Cage.
Yeah.
The Netflix show.
Okay.
And supposedly she's supposed to be in the Salem's Lot. Remake. So we have Carrie O'Malley as Sharon Higgins. We have Brian Howe as Pete Higgins. We have Eric Layden as Detective Clarkin. And those are pretty. Oh, and Joseph Basara, who was Bathsheba in The Conjuring. He would return to be the demon. I think this demon in this movie is called Malphus, but you don't know that in this movie. This is something I found out watching videos about this universe. This is the demon. This is the Annabelle demon is called Malphus. I guess
which is different than the Conjuring demon, right?
Yes, but he literally plays. He's just like always cast as the demon of some. He played Bathsheba in The Conjuring, and they were just like, "Well, we got to keep it going. We got to keep bringing him back to play another demon."
Listen, I don't care what his name is. I'm gonna have nightmares about him tonight.
Oh, my wife. At one point, my wife was like, "Tell me when he's not there. I can't look at this dude anymore."
What was the scene you did that? You'll know. Just wait till we get there. Just tell us what scene that was. You're like, I can't deal with this.
He would also do the music for this movie.
Oh, there's a few that I'm like, nope.
This movie was released September 29th, 2014 at the TCL Chinese Theater in LA. And then October 3rd, 2014 worldwide. It had a runtime of an hour and 39 minutes. It had a budget of $6.5 million and made $257.6 million, which, goddamn, for a horror movie, that is insane. That budget is.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's all I got. That's all I got.
Dude, like, I remember, like, I worked at the theater at the time, managing a theater, as I mentioned before. But these movies were just always really good. They always did well. And we're in a really heavily religious community, and they just always done well. These like horror films like this. And I don't know. It's good for them, though. I mean, GG, don't have to invest a lot of money and you turn a good profit. So,
but looking back at it, what big things were in it that could have been big budget?
That's the thing. So you don't have to do that in movies like this. The Baby?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, babies cost money. How much you think they bought that kid for?
Bought the kid?
Listen, I got a lot of questions for when we get to talk about that kid, because I'm like, wait a second, how much time has passed? But some fun facts about this movie. The names John and Mia were taken from Rosemary's Baby. So that was the name of the main character and her husband.
No, I could not think of that at all.
Oh no, not their character names. It was the actors' names. So Mia Farrow played the main character in Rosemary's Baby, and then John Cassavetes was the actor who played the husband.
So my mind was elsewhere. being a big Resident Evil fan, I was thinking of Mia, the main
from
character's
7.
wife from 7 and 8.
Yeah, but I don't think 7 was out at this time, was it?
It wasn't. This came out 3 years before 7 came out. So that's where I was like, I wonder if that came from.
But
then,
crazy, sorry to cut you off, but like, remember when we were talking during the Resident Evil episode that James Wan was supposed to direct that movie, and they used his ideas, some of his ideas, to make the 7th and 8th game. So, I mean,
maybe
there may not be a connection there, but it's a little fishy, you know.
So now I can't think of John anymore as John. I just think he's Ethan Winters, and then their baby's Rose, because it's just how it works. So there you go. Wait, there's no tall vampire lady.
Wait, the baby in this movie, his name is Rose?
No, that's what I think it is, because that's the baby's name in Resident Evil.
I don't. Her name was Leah.
It's Leah,
but
yeah,
she does not have. They don't have
a credit
for.
Sometimes the parent may not allow a credit because they don't want a name. Crazy thing, just kind of a side tangent, but it relates to that. Of course, I have young kids. They love Bluey. Bluey is a very popular show right now, and it's fucking amazing. It's one of the greatest kids shows ever made.
You owe Sarah some.
I was supposed to watch that today with the kids.
It's amazing. I watch it intensely, like me, a 31-year-old man.
There's so many TikToks of people that are like, I'm 30-something. I'm in my 30s. No kids, and they're laying on the couch watching Bluey, and they're like singing
They literally released, as of this recording, like 3 or 4 days ago, they released 10 new episodes. We literally binged them all in one night. We were eating dinner. We're watching the Bluey episodes, guys. They're only like 7-8 minutes long, but but back to what I was saying. In the credits of every episode of Bluey, they don't credit the voice actors for Bluey, and any of the kid performers are never credited because they don't want them, they don't want any of the publicity. The only people that are credited are any of the adult characters.
So
that could be the reason why the baby wasn't credited.
Makes sense.
Or they ate it.
Well, like the
when they got done, they just ate the baby.
The one kid that does the ASDF movies, Muffin.
Yeah, Muffin Time. Yeah,
and he was in Three Bears. The Three Bears show.
He was one of the Bears.
Yeah, he was one of the bears.
And then he was he was also wasn't the same voice for Catbug.
Yes, for Catbug.
From
Oh.
Your mom said we're only supposed to have one peanut butter square, boy, not till after they cool down.
Bravest Warriors?
Bravest Warriors. That's what it is. Yeah. Thank you.
See, alcohol keeps you from it. It makes you talk more, but it also makes your brain not work.
But it also makes the episodes a lot more interesting.
Let's get these pants off.
Whoa.
Yeah, boy. Let's go.
Let's get liberated. 3, 2, 1. Just get
I'm wearing my noodle pajama pants.
Yep.
As I stated before, John Leonetti, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. John Leonetti, the director of this film, his first job as a cinematographer was Child's Play 3, which is also about a killer doll, which is kind of funny. This was his first movie he directed since Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which came out in 1997. So 17-year gap there.
There's probably a reason for that.
He's probably on like 15-year probation from being able to make another movie after that. And they're like, he just wanted a few years to work up.
He got blacklisted from being a director. Like, you're a good cinematographer, but we're going to keep it that way for a bit. And then they saw how good The Conjuring looked, and like, all right, we'll give you a shot. And then after this,
yeah, he had to work up the courage to come back. He's like,
oh God. So Alfre Woodard, she did not see The Conjuring before she got cast in this movie. She actually looked up actual information about the actual Annabelle doll and everything connected to it. So that was her kind of research into the whole thing. But this entire story is all fictional. Like, The Conjuring is based on an actual event. This movie is, I guess, only based on just the doll itself, the actual events of it. Like, these characters are all fictional and all that. So, which I like it that way. As much as I like The Conjuring, and it being a true story, you got to put it in quotes because they have to mess with the truth to make it more interesting. Even though if you look up and watch anything on the actual Conjuring event, it's a pretty fucking interesting story. But I like when they're just like, yeah, we're going to take this creepy ass element and we're just going to fictionalize it. We're just going to make it our own thing. And I mean, even with just starting off with the doll itself, the doll looks nothing like the actual Annabelle. We talked about it last week because the doll shows up in The Conjuring. It's, the actual doll is a Raggedy Ann doll, which is not as creepy as whatever the fuck this thing is. This is what nightmares are made of, man. But yeah,
I don't know how people can deal. Like, I got porcelain dolls growing up, and they were dressed up for like different seasons, and it was like little girls on stands with like dresses from, I don't know, like Victorian era.
Mm-hmm.
They were creepy enough for me. I couldn't imagine having something that's like 2.5 feet tall with a face like that. Like, why would you want that?
Yeah, I don't know, but it was funny because the scene where it shows the nursery and it's got all the dolls in there. My wife's like, "Why so many creepy dolls?" I'm like, "Because it was the 70s. Like this is what women had. This girls or women, they loved fucking creepy ass dolls. Not everyone, but like most of them.
Actually, it was the mid to late 60s when this takes place.
Supposedly, this takes place in 1970.
That soon?
Yeah, I don't know. You never get you never get a date. You never get a date of when this. It's kind of an idea because they talk about Manson. They talk about the Sharon Tate murders, which I believe the Sharon Tate murders took place in 1968. So it's got to be between 68 and 70. So
I think it was late 60s at least. So.
Yeah, because the cult in this isn't the Manson cult. This is the cult of Ram or whatever it was. Yeah. Greg Nicotero worked on this film. He's the one who designed the demon in this movie. Greg Nicotero, who we talked about in what episode, Dan?
Nope, got nothing.
Day of the Dead. He was in Day of the Dead, and he also worked with.
That's right.
Yeah, he helped work on the special effects for that. So that's really cool. Because he owns KMB Studios, which does a lot of that stuff, which is really cool. I saw his name in the credits. I was like, oh shit. No way. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm looking up things from the scenes that can kind of tell you like when it happened. Because the bag that they used for the Doritos was the first Doritos bag, and it came out in 1966.
Okay.
Doritos are that old?
Yeah.
Man, I love retro. I even love the 90s bag. I remember the 90s bag. It just had such a pop. It just doesn't have that pop no more. Before, when I was talking about the fact that the characters were named after the actors from Rosemary's Baby, the kind of the plot of this movie takes place in a similar location because Rosemary's Baby takes place in a kind of a high-rise apartment building in, I believe, New York City, and this is I'm not sure if this is LA or if this is San Francisco. I don't remember exactly what this is in California, I believe.
Hold on,
am I completely wrong there?
No, you're right because they mention. In the beginning, where they're first at, they say they're near Santa Monica, I think.
Literally, first line I read is in Santa Monica, California.
But see, I didn't know if the apartment was there or just the house. So that's...
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So let's talk about your guys'... We're traveling through this universe. I've seen most of the movies. There are a few that I'm going to be a first-time viewer myself. And I'm going to wait until we watch them for the show to watch them for the first time. But since I've seen this movie a couple times, I want to know what was your experience like watching this for the first time? We'll start with Dan. Angela's looking something up. So Dan, start us off.
It didn't come up correct.
I'm trying to think how I want to word this without like giving a opinion of the film.
Yeah, just talk about your experience. We'll talk about our thoughts at the end.
I will say it was less stressful than the first movie.
Okay.
Watching it, except for the beginning.
Okay.
But it was fun. Like it was I would say the viewing experience as far as like yeah, it was all right.
All right.
Nothing really crazy to talk about, but go ahead.
I mean, we watched it earlier, about 3:00?
Yeah, not long ago. Just turned it on in our room.
So. Watched it while my hair was processing. Like there were some scenes that I was just like, okay, this is bad. I was like, there was a couple of times I had to look away. Just things happening, but like, I wasn't as scared watching it this time as I was watching the first one, but it was good. I mean, it was watchable. We had a couple interruptions, but it was watchable. And I'm not doing a review. Stop it. I'm not giving my opinion yet. Rude.
I got to watch this with my wife, who I don't think has ever seen it, and it was fun to see her reactions with certain things. Like I said, she literally, there were scenes where she couldn't watch it because it was a little too much. Like, it was just, and I think that's what makes it effective in a way. Is the design of the demon in this movie is very effective, and it definitely gives you, even somebody who has seen it a few times, it still gives you like a holy shit type of reaction. And to see her kind of being like, okay, just let me know when he's gone type thing. It was funny, but it was fun to get to watch it with somebody who hasn't seen it. So that's my take on it, since I have seen it. So, but are we ready to talk about the plot of this movie now?
Go.
Yes.
Let's do this. All right. Notes. Don't fail me now.
There's a plot there somewhere.
There's a plot there somewhere. Yep. So this movie opens up to a scene we've already seen. It's the conversation with the nurses, and Annabelle is looking rough, the doll. You hear the Warrens talking, but you don't see them, and they don't mention them, because I'm guaranteeing they don't show the Warrens because they didn't want to pay Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga for this movie. So
they're vaguely mentioned later,
but it's exactly the same scene from The Conjuring where the nurses are talking about all the experience with the doll, but you don't get the really in-depth look into it where it shows everything that happened in that apartment.
Yes.
It just cuts to a demon head sculpture inside of a church, and then you get the title card, which is funny because this is the demon head like gargoyle look that you see in this first shot is what they modeled, what they used as a reference for the demon itself in the movie. So I thought that was pretty
makes sense. It's
so,
a Church of Demon Head.
Yeah, so it's
Clash at Demon Head. Holy shit. Go ahead.
Whoa! Movie idea.
Preference.
Write it down.
Well, it's actually a game.
Oh, all right.
On the NES. We carry on.
It's already been done. So it's time for church. As a very pregnant woman and her husband watch the sermon, they're smiling and laughing. And I was like, I don't remember the last time I ever smiled and laughed in church. I don't even remember the last time I was in a church.
I usually just nap or get invited and eat all the food. That's it.
That's the best part.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm very confused. Were they playing?
Church ladies can cook.
Yes, they can.
They really can. I mean, I haven't had church lady food in a long time, but I still remember.
My parents' church, we always get invited to stuff. Them old ladies can cook.
I usually have a few shots of lamb's blood before I go in. Goat's blood, so I don't get any of that righteousness. It kind of balances.
You kind of got to rub it on your face a little bit. You come in and be like, "Hello, everybody." You're like, "Are you okay, sir?"
But we'll just put you over here in the corner.
Brought a goat in
instead of like taking the little things of holy water, just pick up the fucking cauldron. Just
You know how many jokes are made at my expense when we go into a church?
I don't care.
You mostly making
no, it's great. It's great. Like, I don't know how many times I go into church and like we'll just be looking around, like we're doing measurements.
I haven't caught fire yet.
Because for my job.
Every time.
We do measurements. We clean churches and stuff. We go in there. We'll be looking around doing stuff. I'll just go up to one of the guys, like managers, like, is anybody else hot in here, or is it just me?
I swear to God. So my nephew, this was a while back, but my nephew got christened at a local church that my was the priest of the church was a close friend of my stepmom. So like he used to come over our house all the time, and we've had like deep conversations about religion and the fact that I'm not somebody who is very religious.
Yeah.
But it's funny. But it was I'm a horrible person. I'm going to hell. Save a seat for me, Satan. But I did that, and I did it out loud to like. So I wanted everyone to hear it. I'm walking down the aisle to get to my seat. I'm like, oh, it's kind of hot in here. And I, no joke, looked up at the front, and the priest is laughing his ass off because he knows.
That's awesome. Well done.
It was so good. But were they playing a game during the sermon? I was very confused.
They were thumb wrestling.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what are they talking about?
I was like, yes.
Okay. I completely missed what they were doing. I'm like, because they're talking to the Higgins, and I'm like, what are they? What were they doing?
Because he whispers over to her, he's like, I won.
Oh,
and then
I missed it.
Then Pete comes up to him, who won.
Ah.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing fingering your wife in church? It's like, I'm giving her the old bowling ball.
This is how she got here.
Oh, Lord.
So we'll joke about that later.
So yeah,
I want to show you something.
So they meet up with the Higgins. You see the dad, they're talking to the husband, and then I guess the wife is praying because you find out that her daughter, their daughter ran away. And so she's kind of praying for her.
Lost her.
Yep. So they get back home because they rode to church together because they're neighbors. And they get back and they talk about, names for the baby. And, he says a girl's name. She doesn't like it because it's her grandmother's name. He's like, I hate your grandmother. She sucks. And he's like, yeah, I know. Everyone fucking hates her. It's so funny.
I was expecting this escalate like a full-blown argument. Like, this is some passive-aggressive shit going on here, dude.
Yeah. I was expecting a worse name than Phyllis, honestly, though.
Meredith?
Gertrude? I was waiting for something like Gertrude or...
No offense to any of these people who have these names, but yikes.
Well, like you don't see many. Yes, you see a lot of that because it was in the decade at the time.
Right.
But I'm like, how did you survive having a name like that?
Right.
No offense. I mean, I don't like my own name, but
so they go their separate ways, and you find out that that John doesn't lock the house door. I was like, what the fuck, bro? He's like, oh, I never have to worry. She's like, it's a different time. And I went, fuck yeah. I would never not lock my door. That's crazy.
That's the difference between my family and his. So growing up, we always locked our doors. Even if we were home, our doors were locked. I go and meet his family. They don't lock their doors.
Not during the day.
They knock.
If I'm
they
home,
knock and they're like, come in. And I'm like, how do you know who's knocking at your door?
It'd be like Full House. What was the thing they always used to say in Full House? The door's always open.
Yeah, the door's always open.
What the fuck?
No, the fuck it's not.
It's like San Francisco. What the fuck are you doing?
I don't trust people anymore to just not waltz into my house.
Oh.
I don't know.
You gotta watch out around here. You'll get fucking Jehovah's Witness or something. Just roll up in your house.
I'm gonna show up naked to the door one day when those fuckers come. So it's nighttime. The TV she's got the TV so loud. I'm like, damn, I watch TV loud, but holy shit.
When Jehovah's Witness come to our house and they're like, it doesn't even have to be Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, they're like, have you been to church lately? Or what church do you go to? He's like, I'm an atheist. And they just like, oh, okay. And they walk away.
Yep, have a good day. Thank you. Like, I'm really polite about it. Like, see you later. Like, I get what you're doing, but I'm not interested.
Yeah. I like all the things I do.
You can answer the door all the time.
It's one of those things like, I don't need to explain shit to you. Just go away.
Yeah, no. I hate being asked that question. Like, just bye.
So it's nighttime. The TV's really loud. She's got this thing so loud.
I know.
I would be the same way if I was John. I would be like, can you turn the fucking TV off or turn it down? Like,
yeah.
God damn, you're like 10 feet from it. Like, why do you need it so loud? But the TV's talking about the Manson murders, talking about how there's
sewing machines loud. That's why.
Cults and families and stuff like that, and to watch out. And foreshadowing.
We haven't even made it to Satanic Panic yet.
Yeah.
Satanic Panic at the Disco. I'm sorry. That was what I was going to say.
But John is boo-hooing about how his life is going to be so hard because he's going to be a doctor and he's going to have a kid. And it's like, well, you're the one who knocked her up, so that's your own fucking fault.
It's your choice.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a rough time, but
you chose to have sex with your wife.
Well, see, here's the thing I don't understand about like I get what he's saying. Like, he's trying to be nice, and these dudes have the most fucking Ken and Barbie relationship ever. Like, they don't like argue about anything. Like, they'll throw like really sly comments or something.
And she just rolls her eyes like,
yeah. But like, he's like, well, it's going to be difficult. And he's like, well, I mean, challenging. And like, he's not wrong. Or why are you mad at him? He's saying it's going to be difficult. It is more. I think it was
more the fact I think she probably just said like on his part, not on her part.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's how she interpreted it, but
he is very much like in his up his own ass during this scene while he's talking. There's a few other times he's like that too. I've noticed. But.
No, all I can think of is if you roll your eyes at me, I'll take you over my knee. Sorry. those that know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's fine. That's good. That's good.
But he apologizes quickly, and they're like, good job. Usually that's not how that works.
Mm-hmm.
He figured out what he said. He knew what he was wrong. And he says some funny sex joke that I didn't write down, but I just put funny sex joke in my notes because he says something, and then she's like, well, that's how I got like this.
He's like,
he's like, let me show you something.
Oh yeah,
that's how I ended up like this, and he's like, yeah, you did. Like, yeah.
we looked at each other like, okay.
Good on you, John.
He comes back in with a big box, and
it's his dick. It doesn't fill the whole box.
It's a dick in a box.
There's got to be a lot of padding in that one.
That's right. It's mostly packing peanuts.
She looks inside this box, and she's very excited because there's a dick in the box. Oh no, I'm just kidding. It's a doll. It's a really creepy ass doll. It's the doll. Yeah. She's looking like, really yeah, she's like, you found it? He's like, I got my ways. And I was like, that's a sketchy thing to say. But it's looking real clean. It's all nice and polished, new paint job. The lips are just always so off for me. Every time they zoom in on her lips, why do they look like that?
So that was looking at her, it looks to be like something from like the 40s, 50s. Yeah.
Well, you could tell she had other dolls from that collection. Did you see the other two that were there?
Mm-hmm. That's how they did their lipstick. They didn't do the lipstick all the way out to the end. That's how they did their lipstick. And I always thought it was really weird.
It's weird
to look at. Weird. Yeah, to look at ladies that had their lipstick done like that. And I'm like, okay, you still have more over here. But that's how they did their makeup. So
yeah, they go to bed.
Yeah.
They're sleeping, and you get a shot of the Higgins house through Mia and John's window, and you don't hear anything, you just see things. So you see the dad get up and walk over, and then you see the wife reacting to it, and then you see a big blood splatter on the window, and then you see a guy kind of all dressed in white just come and ends up killing the mom.
I got a little bit of a jump out of the blood hitting the window.
I did.
There was no sound, and then that blood hit.
So this whole scene was very
off-putting.
No, not off-putting. It was very words.
G.I. Joe.
Hard too.
Easy bake oven.
Suspenseful.
There we go. I was close.
Easy bake oven.
Easy bake oven, suspenseful, right on the same spectrum.
All you can see is them sit up. You
Yeah.
can't see anything past halfway to the end of their bed. I had just assumed that the dad had come back and like had a mental breakdown or something, because you can't tell what he's saying other than telling her to stay, because you see him point.
Yep.
But he's in white. Dude comes back in white. It's only when he like turns his face that I'm like, that's not the dad.
That's not him. Yeah.
Dark.
So Mia wakes up, of course, because she hears something. She thought he heard her scream. Wakes up John. She goes out there.
Hear nothing, but she hears a scream. Like,
yeah, and she tells him to call the cops, and he's like, "What? Because you heard a scream?" And it's like, "No, motherfucker, just call it." Like, that's their fucking job, man.
It's the way he says it. It's like he seems like a nice guy, but he's kind of up his own ass. Like,
he's a condescending douche. Sometimes.
Yeah, he's like, because you think you heard somebody scream. I was like, dude, take her fucking word for it, bro.
So he goes out there. He goes to the neighbor's house, and of course the door's wide open. So he just goes in. Clearly, he discovers the Higgins dead. Comes back out covered in the blood, and of course, the first thing he says is like, "It's not mine," just to kind of somewhat ease her.
He's covered in blood from head to toe.
So she's panicking. She goes back into the house to call, and this is when you get the really creepy scene of like she's calling. She hears something in one room, and then she of course continues to call, and then you just see the woman in the far back, like there's like fuzzy back there, and just walks across the shop. And of course, she goes into the bedroom, and then you don't see. You see the woman again, but then you just see Mia in the bedroom, and all you hear is, "I like your dolls."
And I'm like, nope, bye.
So
I'm fucking out of here.
Of course, she's interacting with the woman, and the guy who killed the Higgins is in the closet, comes out and stabs Mia in the side of the stomach. John comes in, tries to fight him off, and
tries to beat him off.
Yeah, no, not the right time.
I got this one. He's taking both fists. You'll have to take care of the other one.
But he takes care of the guy, and I think he
does.
He gets he takes care of the woman pretty easily because she just crawls back into the nursery.
Yeah, doesn't he toss her into the hallway after he slams her against the wall or something?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
So we then get the shot of Mia, of course, and then you get the whole thing where Mia's slowly kind of passing out.
Yeah, because she got stabbed.
Yep. And they wheel Mia out, and then that's when you get the shot of the woman dead with the doll on her lap. And it's got the symbol above her head too.
Yeah, we should mention that John attempting to beat this man off did not succeed, and 2 more men had to come in and take care of it. And it was just one cop, and he iced the one dude with a knife.
Yes.
He's telling her to run, and I'm like, how the hell is she gonna run? She just got stabbed. She's pregnant. I wasn't running when I was pregnant, and I wasn't stabbed.
Fight or flight. Just saying.
But she was it already looked like she was having trouble moving around because she's further along, and she's bleeding out. There's
I don't know.
I've
never been pregnant. I can't say.
There's a lot of blood flow in that area.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We find out that the woman was Annabelle Higgins, the daughter of the neighbors, and she joined the cult of Ram, which is this. I think they were an actual cult, from what I've researched, and yeah, she was. It was the whole thing because he even joked about John joked about it earlier. It was oh yeah. Their daughter's not dead. She just ran away with the hippies. And I was yeah, not the good ones, though.
But no, I was what are you doing? Oh, disciples of the Ram.
So there is
so that's what they initially say. Yeah.
Yeah. The disciples of the Ram.
So they're hey, they started, and there was disciples of the Ram first. And then there was an offshoot of them, which was a much shittier cult. It was called Cult of the Thorn or whatever, and they worship Michael Myers.
And Michael Myers was a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck were they thinking?
No, so the Disciples of the Ram are loosely inspired by the Manson family, but they were just made for this movie.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought I saw something that they were real, but
they're based on true events.
Yeah. So we're at the hospital. The baby, they check, me out. The baby's okay. It didn't hit anything vital. I'm okay. So they go back home, and she's just of course she's weary. And I'll be fuck, going back to that house. Nope.
Couldn't go back.
So listen.
But her getting stabbed in the stomach like that is those people that get shot in the head and they survive because it hits nothing major. I'm how the hell does that happen?
So doesn't she
She's tiny.
She goes in the house and is the door, lock the door.
Yes, that was the first thing, yeah.
But it was her fucking fault it happened in the first place.
She left
the damn door open.
Okay, I mean, come on, it is a traumatic. Okay, but I was gonna say it's a traumatic experience. I don't think I probably would have done the same thing. It's just kind of she's freaking out already.
I'm just being an idiot.
I would tell him to lock the door too, because I probably would have locked it myself.
100%. So they return home. Yeah, they lock the door, and they, of course, they have the conversation about if anything were to happen, you save the baby over me. And he's what? And it's save the fucking baby, you stupid motherfucker. And he's okay.
Fine, jeez.
He's nothing's gonna happen to you. It'll be fine.
So during the middle of the night, this is possibly the loudest fucking sewing machine I've ever heard starts going off in the living room.
They're loud.
I know.
They're loud.
I've heard a sewing machine, but this sewing machine is possibly the loudest sewing machine I've ever heard in my life.
But listen, we sleep with a fan on, box fan, year round. We couldn't hear shit go on outside of our door.
Well, yeah, last night, perfect example.
I didn't hear it.
So our cat knocked over a shelf out here. She was asleep. I was awake, scared as shit. I mean, she didn't even flinch. Right outside of her, literally. was
And
like,
I'm
what
the light
fuck?
sleeper. And
I
didn't
knew what
hear
it was, but it's still scary. You know, in the middle of the night when something
Yeah.
scares you, it kind of puts you on edge. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I'm going to kill that damn cat. Anyway, I didn't kill the cat. I was just upset.
So she goes out there, or John is the one who goes out there and notices it's going off. He unplugs it. Is it Mia who finds the doll on the floor and puts it in the chair?
Oh, he does.
He does.
He does. Okay.
Because he tries to move the door and he's like,
Yeah.
So earlier she shut the door to the nursery.
Yes.
So the door is now open again, and he puts the doll in the chair, and the arms are behind the doll.
Yep.
So when they wake up the next day, she shuts the door again, but the doll's hands are beside it.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
and that's when she's like, we need to get rid of the doll because she had it in her arms. She bled.
I'm
on
like,
it.
this fucking doll keeps moving. Like, stop it.
Yeah, because the next day she's using. Is this when she's using the sewing? No. She's just in her room because she's on bed rest. She's watching TV. The TV starts to fuck up, and she hears the rocking chair going,
Yes.
rocking.
yeah, Annabelle's just the perpetual motion machine because it
But
just never
every
stops from the night before.
No, every time she uses the fucking sewing machine, I'm like,
Oh yeah, because she
lady,
was using the sewing machine in the
stop.
Okay.
So when she's using it when she's watching TV and he asks her to turn the TV off.
She does it like 3 times and it always zooms in on her hands.
But it zooms in on her hands. I'm like, I can't watch this because she's gonna end up looking away because she's watching the TV and she starts going faster and faster. I'm like, she's gonna sew her fucking hand.
Well, yeah, they definitely play into that. They try to get you to be like, come on, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And then it wouldn't happen until it finally happens.
Every time I'm like, I cannot do close-ups like that because from someone, I've stapled my finger before. I couldn't imagine putting a freaking sewing needle through my finger.
Yeah. So she goes to the room to investigate. Of course, it stops rocking when she gets in there. And she shuts the door to the nursery again, and then that's when she tells, a little bit later, she tells John, like, you gotta get rid of the doll. But he comes back with a bunch of goodies for her pregnancy cravings, and she talks about, he's like, I really haven't had any pregnancy cravings, and then he pulls out pickles and mustard, and I was like, what the fuck?
More salt.
He pulled out an original Doritos bag, Easy Pop, which is now Jiffy Pop.
Yep.
Yes.
And the pickles, and she's like,
ooh.
You know what would go great with that? And he pulls out the mustard, and I'm like,
I'm like, for one, a pickle is so wet. When you go to dip it in the mustard, it's not going to get any of the mustard.
Did you watch her when she
dipped
it in the
any
mustard?
Of the mustard?
There's nothing.
No.
There's nothing there. But it's like, oh, let's just dip sodium on top of sodium, and
it's
like, no.
It's like, I'm a wing connoisseur. I love, chicken wings of all sorts, but I love a good blue cheese dressing. I dip my wings in blue cheese. Not like I don't lather them anymore. Like when I was a kid, it was like fucking scoop them like a fucking spoon. But now it's like, you get a little bit of it. You get a little bit of
it all the way to your fingers.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, that's good. It's like, no, it's just all blue cheese. No, I like a little bit of a dip just so you get the, both the hot sauce and the blue cheese. But like if it's too saucy,
and I was like, whoa.
If it's too saucy, it doesn't pick up any of the blue cheese dressing. So it's like fucking pointless to use the blue cheese. Or ranch if that's what you're into.
See, we do ranch, but we go.
I do like blue cheese, but not a lot. I can't.
We go to
B-dubs.
B-dubs a lot. Buffalo Wild Wings.
I can't anymore. They fucking garbage now.
Oh, that's the only thing we have around here that has, decent wings.
Yeah, we don't.
But if you get it's a dry rub that I love.
Yeah, baby.
This is the most sexy.
Get more of that raw sensation.
We're talking about chicken wings.
I like that grit.
Talking about a fucking haunted doll movie.
And if you end up going back at some point,
going dry.
It's halfway up their spice menu. The dry rub side.
Which one is that? That Cajun one?
No, I can't remember what it is.
No, Asian Zing is a sauce.
No, Asian Zing is a sauce.
Fuck.
It is definitely the best one for dipping.
I'm gonna look it up.
Are you guys chicken?
We don't have a
Are you guys
wing stop here
chicken
anymore.
tenders or bone-in wings?
We are
Chicken
boneless.
tenders.
See, I usually do that too, but I think if I were to go back, I would go bone-in because every time I eat, they're boneless now. I just feel like garbage after I eat there.
We do it for the kids because they're big.
I could eat it either way. I don't really care.
It's basically a chicken nugget.
There's no such thing as boneless wings. That doesn't make any fucking sense. It's a chicken tender or it's a chicken nugget.
It's usually a tender. Nuggets are like a class below tenders.
We just do it for the kids. That's
I don't care. If somebody's like, you want wings? I was like, I'll eat it. Whatever. You fucking make it wings. Just give me something. I do not care.
You say you want wings? Yeah. What flavor? I don't give a fuck. Just give me.
I know how to debone the flats.
Oh yeah.
Like
Angela, that little tiny. You get the tiny bone, right? You twist. Boop.
Except
we have eaten enough wings that I've mastered that.
I don't like buffalo sauce.
Okay. I mean, there's so many there's so many different flavors
I know.
out there now.
I know, but people like there's buffalo sauce. I just
variety.
don't like. Exactly. I just don't like buffalo sauce. I just don't.
Yeah.
I never
My favorite wing. Not to get too much on a side tangent on chicken wings.
We're already there.
My favorite wing is from a restaurant where it's like a breaded seasoned wing. It doesn't have any sauce on it. That's my favorite. It's like a good like seasoned breading that they put on the wing.
So we used to have a place here that did Wing Wednesday, and it was 50-cent wings on Wednesday.
We had a place
they've since closed down for other reasons, but they had the best flavors.
It's Chipotle barbecue, isn't it? Chipotle barbecue, dry.
It's a dry rub.
Yes, it's good, dude. It's proper good. That and then Asian zing. Oh, fucking love. And the what's the Parmesan garlic? Yeah.
We buy bottles of the Parmesan garlic just to have at the house.
I want 16. I want to have to eat 16 Tic Tacs when I leave that place, dude.
I don't even care about a fucking Tic Tac. Who am I to impress anymore?
That's right. I'm married. Fuck you guys.
How long have we been married now?
Yeah.
We don't need to impress each other.
Sorry, go ahead, Parker.
So, the husband then says something about something. He's got to go out of town for a couple days. I'm like, your wife is on bed rest and she's very pregnant. You're gonna leave? That seems dumb. And because
the only time she can get up is to go use the facilities. Like, whoa.
And of course,
back up.
This is when they're about to go to bed, and they're gonna watch a movie or watch something on TV, and he's gonna go make some Easy Pop, and he puts it on the stove, and then comes back, and she's passed out. So he's like, fuck it. He turns off the stove, but he leaves it on the stove. He leaves the next day, and she's using the sewing machine again. She hears the rocking, but then you see all of the knobs on the stove turn on, and of course the popcorn starts to pop, and it gets really big. And of course, once it gets to a certain point, it starts to burn, and it sets the kitchen on fire. And of course, this is when you get the whole thing where it's zooming in on her hands as she's using the sewing machine, showing the kitchen, and then she literally, gets her finger cut in there, and she smells the smoke and sees the fire. And this is when you start seeing like the first of the official supernatural part of this movie, because she falls on her stomach. I'm like, God damn. Anytime I watch a movie where there's a pregnant woman who falls on her stomach, I'm like, oh.
Listen, if I'm running away from something, I ain't looking back at it.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
No. But she backs up and she trips over the chair, and I'm like, why the hell are you falling on your stomach? I would have hit my head.
Rotate.
She rotated. But my thing is, why did it take her so long to smell?
Right?
Yes. Especially being pregnant.
No way. It's literally a room away. There's no way you don't smell that before it even starts to burn.
I haven't had kids. Sarah's 7 now. I still have pregnancy smell. You smell it. I still smell things.
Yeah.
I'm like, you smell that? And he's like, no.
I couldn't. When my wife was pregnant with my oldest, I used to, when I was 20 when she was pregnant. So like I was still wearing what I was wearing in high school. I was wearing Axe body spray with whatever deodorant I was wearing. And I had to stop wearing body spray because she couldn't take it. She was like, I can't be around you if you wear that.
He was sitting beside me eating ramen noodles. I'm like, you got to back up. I can't do it.
So,
and I love ramen noodles.
It's very like, come on. She couldn't smell any of that. For one, you might like not even just the popcorn. You could even smell, like, I know it's an electric stove, but I feel like you could still smell like it's giving some sort of smell off those burners, even if it's not gas.
From that decade, like I go out for smoke breaks with a coworker of mine. I don't smoke. She does. I can immediately smell her cigarette as soon as she lights it.
So
like,
yeah,
it's a distinct smell. She would have had to smell it.
So yeah, she falls, and that's when she gets like pulled back, though. Like something pulls her back, and that's what freaks her out. And of course, the neighbors come in to save her, and then John shows up at the hospital, and the baby was born, and it's fine. But she pretty much tells us, like, I'm not going back to that house. Fuck that house. Nah. And get rid of that fucking doll.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, he had already gotten rid of the doll before he left for his trip. He threw it in the garbage.
The fact that it took her that long to be like, no, I don't want to be back in that house.
As soon as that first event happened, I would have been like, nah, we got to go. Go.
We're staying with somebody's friends, parents. Something.
Yeah.
So they move to an apartment, and it doesn't tell you the time between the last scene and this scene because the baby is like, how old do you think this baby was? 6, 8 months,
9 months,
maybe
6 to 9 months.
6 months at least.
All right. I mean, I guess it's not that much time, but I was like, damn, that baby's big.
Got some cheekers.
Long enough to get some cheeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's still I think the thing that kind of threw me off is like this baby is like 6 to 9 months old, but yet they still are unpacking. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't move out of the house immediately. I don't know.
But
or maybe it took them a little bit to find this place.
Yeah. So they go back to the church, and the father is talking, doing his sermon, and then he runs into Mia outside with the baby. The baby's name is Leah. And I'm like, wow, that's not going to suck for John. Yeah, Mia and Leah. Okay.
But is this is the scene where they see Evelyn checking her mail?
Well, I think Mia just kind of sees her in passing because she's at the mailbox.
By this time, she's noticed what happens above them in the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Because she hears,
that's like the first time you see him.
Yeah, because she hears stomping, and he's like, you need to get out of the house more.
Yeah. So
I feel like a little bit of time has passed because she's had long enough to know what her upstairs neighbors are doing.
Yeah. So there's a deleted scene where in between them leaving the apartment and seeing Evelyn for the first time, you meet the landlord of the building. There's a couple deleted scenes that have to do with the landlord. One of them is they're in the elevator with him, and he's just he's a creepy guy. Like, he is a probably registered sex offender at some point. He's just really creepy. He's like, if you ever need someone to watch your baby, just let me know. And then literally the dad, like John, gives him a look, and he's like, yeah, I probably wouldn't trust me around babies either. I'm like, yeah, this is really weird. I'm glad they didn't put it in the movie. But then the second one, was, there's a scene where she was going to give the baby a bath, and I guess back then you had to use an actual thermometer to put it in the water to test how hot the water was. And it was like normal temperature. And then she goes to get the baby, but then the demon raises the temperature, and it's like super hot. And you think she's going to put the baby in there, but then she tests it herself and she burns her fingers on it. And then the landlord has to come and fuck with the pipes, but there's nothing wrong with them. And it's a whole thing. I'm like, thank God they didn't include this because this was just unnecessary.
All I can think of is super hot.
Yeah, super hot.
So,
no.
But
like, if I would have seen that, I would definitely been like, nope, bye.
Seems contradictory to what the story is trying to tell us.
Yeah.
Like for that to have happened to the baby doesn't
make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Especially with the scene with the Have we seen the scene with the priest where he's taking the picture?
No, this is what I'm talking about right now. So yeah,
like this, I would have definitely been like,
yeah,
no.
yeah, he literally was like, "Can I take a picture of the baby? You know, to put on the bulletin board." She's like, "Of course, yeah." And then of course he tries to talk to her about the Higgins, and she kind of just blows it off. She's like, you know, because she doesn't want to talk about it or mention anything about it. It kind of blows him out. Oh yeah, John's over there. He's calling me. I gotta go. Type thing.
Because that's a span of time where she's still processing what happened.
Exactly.
That's a traumatic event.
Yeah.
Like if I knew that my neighbors had been murdered, like our neighbors are not that far.
Yeah.
Our neighbors aren't that close. Like we can't look in windows. But our neighbors are close enough that if something were to happen, I would have been like, nope,
You
we're
would
selling this
probably
house
know.
and we're gone.
So they get back home. They finally unpack everything. But the last box she looks inside, what's in there but the fucking doll?
I called it too.
And
I was like,
yeah.
She's going to open this box. He's like, this is the last one. I'm like, yep, the doll's in there.
And of course, she makes the dumb decision to keep it because he was like, oh, I definitely threw that away. And then and he's like, okay, give it to me. And she's like, oh, no, it's okay. You gave it to me as a gift. And she puts this raggedy, dirty ass doll on the shelf. And I was like, fuck, idiot.
No.
White people.
Absolutely not.
So this is when we get the scene where Mia is passed out on the couch. Leah is sleeping in the bassinet or crib or whatever it is. And the fucking creepy ass lady walks up to the crib and just, you don't see her face. You just see her lean over with the hair. You know, like, what the and then the baby starts to cry. She wakes up, but she doesn't see anything.
Because you see her in the background first. She goes through the next room.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you see her. I'm like, how the hell did she get there? And then I'm like, oh yeah, she's dead.
Yeah, she a ghost. So
like, no.
Mia and the baby, they are going to go out and do some stuff, and they run into some kids on the stairs, and I love the boy where she's like, hey, what's your name? Don't tell her. Mom and Dad told us not to talk to strangers.
Smart.
Tell her.
I like your doll. And that's when we get, Mia says the same line. She's like, I like your doll. I have a lot of dolls like that. You do? What's your name?
Like
Don't tell her. She's a stranger. And I like how Mia's like, I understand. I completely agree.
Yeah, I told you don't tell her.
So this is when Mia officially meets Evelyn at her bookstore. And I love how the book that's just displayed in the front window is a satanic book.
It's called Satan's Welcome or something like that.
Yep.
And I'm like, hell no.
It's like Satan, the kitchen, and you. It's like a demonic cookbook.
Okay,
sorry.
now that would be a little different. Like you teach me how to cook. No.
Yeah. That's not sexist because she's a woman. Anybody could.
No, I know how to cook.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I just need different recipes.
She gives her a book for the baby. Did you see what the book was? I didn't catch the book she gave her. I don't think we were supposed to know what it was.
Because she said something about her daughter like that when she was little.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you really see it. But then that's when you see the Satan's Welcome.
Yeah. So they get home, and that's when they find the pictures on the stairs. And they're like, of course, at first it's cute. It's a picture of Mia and the baby and blah, blah, blah. But then it starts to get like progressively worse where it's like a garbage truck and it's like the stroller going into the street. And then like the dead baby. Ah!
And you instantly think to yourself like, yep, this is going to happen later in this movie.
Yeah,
this is so projected.
Because he's like, what happened? I think that's when you were on the phone with Brandon.
Yeah, probably.
And
we were watching this movie. I got called by my boss, like, do we have an emergency water job? I was like, I'm by myself. You don't have to help me, but if you can, I'd be appreciated. I was like, give me an hour to finish this movie. He called me, and they called me like 30 minutes later to let me know the DL. So I was like twice during this. I was literally on a business call.
Yeah. So as the pictures were progressing, I had to pause it. He was on the phone, and I unpaused it. I'm like, well, she's going to get hit by this truck.
Yeah.
And then you see the other picture. I'm like, well, I was wrong, but somebody's getting hit by a truck.
Half the points.
Like, I was just going off what was pictured because she looks at the pictures and she's like,
yeah. And it's one of those things where John is just like, do we tell the parents? Like, I feel like, I'd want to know if my kid was doing this stuff. And he kind of blows it off at first, but then he agrees with her. And of course he's and then of course
she got pregnant.
Yeah, of course he sits down. He's like, okay, tomorrow we're going to have a nice dinner and we're going to have adult conversations. She's like, okay. He ditches her.
He didn't blow her dick.
I was concerned that he didn't hear.
No, I picked it up.
You said it. He didn't hear what you said. She's like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm taken aback by this. This is entirely different. What kind of book did she get from the store again?
Hey, she's a librarian. I don't know in the 70s if it's anywhere different from today, but I have an app on my phone that I can check out books from our local library, and there is adult stuff that I can check out from our library.
It's like the Fabio books, right?
And I'm like, I don't remember being able to check that out from our library. So, no,
times have changed, Angela. Times have changed.
Please tell me one of them is called Playing in Her Backfield.
Listen, there's so many Fabio books that I can find from the used bookstore, and I'm like, don't think I want to touch those.
There's an erotic fiction about Moses. It's called He Parted the Sea, then He Parted Her Legs.
We're talking about a movie about a haunted doll, and I don't know what's happening.
I'm so sorry.
He parted a Red Sea,
Whoa!
Listen, there's already been so many adult jokes made.
The tide never deterred
between
this
John
man.
and Mia.
The color of the tide.
I mean, there's so many more book jokes that I can make.
Save it for the next one.
Listen.
Well, there's some, but don't use them all today.
So
I'll keep them. I'll keep.
Don't blow your whole load. I would, but you don't.
So John ditches her for dinner, and she starts experiencing things. This is the first time, you get really crazy supernatural shit that happens.
Was he just held? I'm assuming he was just held up at work, right? This is what happened.
Probably, yeah.
Because I don't know if they really talked about it.
Because we were talking about, she's sitting there eating dinner. She's made dinner for both of them. She's eaten hers completely. Yeah, she starts eating his. I was like, well, shit.
What happens sometimes?
Here's the thing.
Doctor.
Here's the
He's
thing.
hungry.
Yes, he is in residency, so he is becoming a doctor type thing. He's already gone through school, stuff like that. I understand you have a new baby and all that, but what he was doing. You know what his job was. You can't just tell him to just come home randomly with his job because he could get fired. You don't have a job. This is a time when most women didn't have jobs. It was the men who had the job. So if you're constantly telling your husband to come home, he's not getting paid, and then you can't live.
Yeah. I don't think she was telling him to come home. I think she was just kind of assuming.
No, she was going through some shit, and of course, because of what happened at the last place, I understand why she was feeling this way.
Yeah. She just wanted him to be there. She just kind of, I guess, assumed that maybe he would have an early night.
Well, they planned on it, and it's just things happen, especially in his line of work.
Yeah, in his line of work, things happen. She's just like, well, I'm gonna cook dinner for us.
Yeah.
If you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not.
So this is when she starts experiencing a bunch of stuff where she goes into the living room and you see the shadow behind the curtains, which is kind of eerie. And then of course she looks there again and there's nothing there. But then there's a little girl that runs by her and giggles. And I'm like, fucking kids giggling.
No,
worse.
This whole scene, I'm like, how slow can you be trying to find your drapes? She's like this the whole time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, touch the fucking curtains.
She doesn't like little kid things.
I don't like little kids. I don't like little kid ghosts. Phasmophobia has been.
I think it was before Phasmophobia. You didn't like little kid ghosts.
But yeah, it runs by her, runs down the hall. And this is when you get one of the best scares, I think, of this movie is when she goes into the nursery and, she's looking around. And of course she turns around and you see the little girl in the other room. And then like she's just standing there, stands like, hello. And then it runs at her and the door starts to close and it's the little girl. But as soon as it hits the door, it's the fucking woman. And you're like, what the fuck? It still gets me. Gets me.
Yep.
In my opinion, it's the best scare of this movie.
There's a couple of jump scares in this. And there's a couple of scares that scared me that probably weren't supposed to be scary. It was just the suspense. This was one of them. I was like,
it was good. It was a good, like the running at the door was good.
Yeah.
There's a few spots in this movie that I really liked, and this was the second.
This is one of them because from playing Phasmophobia, you don't get that much. You get the ghosts that come at you, but they dissipate before they get to you. I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, shut the door. Don't look. Just turn around. It's gonna go away. Close your eyes.
Yeah. Please, God, no.
Yes, this was one of the jump scares that got me.
Yeah, and of course John's a dick about the whole thing. He doesn't believe anything that she says. Like,
you're a dick.
Yeah.
You really are.
So they turn to the church to try to figure out what the hell's going on. Of course it's because John's parents went through something similar. They went to the church and it helped them, whatever. And after they leave, they run into Evelyn again. And, they and John gets introduced to her and all that stuff. And then they leave. So the doll starts doing some fucking crazy shit. This is when Mia ventures to the storage area in the basement. And I'm like, she puts the baby down.
This right here.
She is on the 6th floor of this apartment building, and she goes to the basement with no monitor. So what are you gonna do if something happens to your baby?
Yep.
So
I didn't know she had left the baby. She gets in the elevator. I'm like, where's the baby?
Yeah. Nope.
Didn't the dad just say he had to work the night shift?
Yep. So the baby's alone in that apartment. She goes down to the basement to find something, and she hears baby's crying, and she sees the stroller kind of wheel out of the darkness, and of course she's got to go check it out. I've been like, nah, bro, nah.
No,
I've seen this movie.
Yeah, but she goes up.
He wasn't paying attention, and I'm like,
I seen the crib. I was like,
that's a problem, because you see the stroller come out from
another storage thing. It looks like it like wheels out,
and it was
just dark.
I don't even know if it was a storage. It was just like a sheet was put up behind there, and it rolls out. I'm like, that's bad. Nope.
I learned something in these movies so far. We've talked about this.
People are stupid.
That too. These movies, ghosts can only interact with electronic devices and sheets and doors. So it seems like when there's something happening, nobody can open a door for some reason.
Hey, listen. When I really have to go pee, doors don't work the way that I want to go. If you've ever had kids, and you know what bladders go through, bladders hands don't work at the same time, dude. Doors don't work when you have to go pee.
Okay,
all right.
I just don't. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so she goes over and
Parker, you ask your wife.
Shit. Sorry.
You ask your wife if she's ever gotten home and needed to really go pee, and the front door does not unlock like it's supposed to.
It happens to me too. But she goes and checks inside the stroller, and it's just kind of like a bloody blanket.
Yeah,
and it's not just a bloody blanket; it's moving.
Yeah,
it's the fetus from Resident Evil 8.
Like, fuck no. I'm like, is there a chicken in there?
My God.
And of course, that's when she gets scratched by the demon who shows
grabs her arm, doesn't it?
Yeah. And of course, she gets loose. She runs back to the elevator. And of course, it's not one of those things where she looks back and it's gone. It's still there. Like, you just see the silhouette of you just kind of see the head of the demon behind the stroller as she runs back to the elevator. And she of course, she hits her button. It closes, but it keeps opening. It opens it does it like 4 or 5 times where it constantly is opening up to the basement.
I'm like, I'm like, she ain't getting out of here.
I know. I love that. It's like,
Yep.
I was like, this ain't going nowhere. And she opens. I was like,
Yep.
Honestly,
Does it
I
again.
was prepared. You see dude's face, whatever ghost it is.
It's a demon.
I was prepared. I was prepared for it to get closer. Every time she had the door shut, here I am. I'm like,
Yep. And to be honest, it disappears because she doesn't see it down at the end either. But then she runs to the door because the elevator's not going up. But then she's getting pretty much stalked by it as she's going back to her apartment. You see the hand kind of go over the railing. Then there's the whole scene where she gets to the top of a flight of stairs and it's dark on the bottom, but then like a light kind of shines and he's just down there. And then it like shoots up at her, and she of course she like gets back into the apartment and freaks out.
this was the most intense scene.
Yeah.
Between her pulling the whatever fabric up from the stroller.
Yeah.
To her getting to the top of the stairs. I'm like,
yeah, this is an intense
come
scene.
on.
Yeah.
I'm like holding my chair and he's over here just like, yeah.
And of course she's screaming, Leah, the whole time she's running up the stairs.
And I'm like, you fucking left your
Yeah, you
kid
left
this
her there.
entire time.
Yes.
God.
So she has a mark on her arm, and it's that symbol that was above
Yes.
Annabelle Higgins' body in the old house. But
Because she finds it when she's talking to the priest.
Yes. She covers it, but then when the next morning she takes off the thing and it's gone.
I'm like, ma'am, I know you're not that crazy. I know you're crazy.
I forgot to mention they meet with a cop earlier about the whole experience, and this is when Mia was like, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to forget it ever happened. But because of this incident, she calls the cop back to get more information about Annabelle Higgins and the cults and all that. And he shows her the case file and then lets her keep a picture. I don't think that's protocol. I don't think you can do that.
This whole interaction between both of them, I'm like,
if we have anyone who watches the shows in law enforcement who has that information, let me know. Because that seems, I mean, I understand this is like 1969, 1970, whatever year this is. Maybe it was different back then, but I just don't see that being protocol. Like, she literally is like, can I have this? And yeah, sure. Why not? Like, what?
It could be, but she's not being interrogated, so I don't see why she should be shown.
Yeah, it's weird. Also, every pic that she's shown is way too clear to be from this year.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck? Like, they're showing like pictures of like Annabelle Higgins before she joins the cult, and you're like, was that taken in like 2005? Like, what the fuck?
Well, hold on.
I don't feel like she should be. I almost feel like that should be at this point not a closed case, but not something that he should be showing her.
But she finds a picture that's got the mark on it, and that's the one she wants to keep.
Yes.
Yep.
So when she gets that,
because that's the mark that's on her hand or arm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She goes to Evelyn's bookstore to kind of do some research, and of course she tells Evelyn, and Evelyn's like, I believe you. I'll help you. She's like, cool.
Which I honestly feel like Evelyn has been like not an occultist, but someone that studies that.
I think it's probably has something to do with the whole daughter situation that we find out a little earlier or a little later.
I just kind of assume that it's something that she's researched because she's a librarian.
Yeah.
She's such a fucking red herring, dude.
Who, Evelyn?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love her.
Like, it's not a very good red herring. I like her too, but like, it's like, oh, she's in the occult. And I even told Angela, I guarantee they're gonna make her seem like a red herring. Like, oh, she's in the occult.
And that
Maybe
was
bad
like
guys, but she'll be like a good guy.
Way earlier in the movie, like when you first meet her, like
because she was like checking her out and stuff. Like, I'll give the baby this and Satan's cookbook and then all that stuff.
Satan's cookbook.
Satan's cookbook.
Dude, I need a Satan's cookbook.
It's out
I
there.
need it.
Google it. It's there.
While she's talking to Evelyn, she tells her like, I think I'm being haunted by a ghost, and she's like, I don't think so. I think it's a demon. So they get a bunch of books. They go back to. Did they go back to her apartment?
What do you think? Yeah, Because she's in the library
They
with
give it-
her. And she's like, I don't want to tell you because you'll think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
She's like, no, tell me. I've seen everything.
Yeah.
I'm old enough. I've been around.
I'm old enough. I've been around long enough. She tells her, she's like, oh, I got this right over here. Like,
Okay.
Well, never mind. Go, I thought I
like
had something.
I think that she felt this. I kind of feel like she was maybe like clairvoyant or something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
She knew what was happening. She saw it.
We get an explanation about demons versus ghosts, all similar to the last movie.
Yeah.
I just feel like she knew what was going on. She was waiting for her to divulge this information. She's like, oh yeah, I got it over here. Like,
I keep it
okay.
in my tome next to my Necronomicon.
Yeah, exactly.
So as they're talking about, what possibly is going on, this is when, you see the scar on Evelyn's wrist. And then, of course, at first she's going to hide it, but then she tells me everything that the reasoning behind it, that she fell. I'm guessing she fell asleep at the wheel, right, with her daughter in the car, and of course her daughter died, but she was in a coma for like 3 weeks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She said she woke up 3 weeks later, and her daughter didn't.
Yep.
Never did. Yeah.
And so this was she was going to take her own life, but she said that she was told by her daughter that it wasn't her time. I like I want to state that, but the whole thing is like the scar in the direction it is, which is what people say is the most effective way.
That's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
Knowing that's how it works. I was like, oh yeah, she tried to off herself.
Yeah. So the next day, Mia is coming home from grocery shopping, and as she's like trying to get into the apartment building, she sees the reflection of a creepy woman holding the baby. And of course, you don't know, but the stroller starts to roll out into the street.
Yep.
And it gets hit by a green garbage truck. But you find out Mia had the baby.
Yeah, right at the last minute, she has the baby.
Yeah, you've
because we're both like, oh, here it goes.
Yeah, I knew once you seen that scene, I was like, yep, here it comes.
Yep. So Mia, she does some more reading. We get more of the rocking chair again, where the dolls or the demons fucking around with that. This is the whole thing where they get home and she puts Leah on the blanket in front of the bookshelf, and she hears the rocking chair, so she goes into the room to investigate, and then she gets locked inside the room. And as she's trying to get out, but she like looks under the door, and the books are starting to get thrown off the bookshelf and getting close to the baby, and then the fucking doll falls right in front of the door.
My thought was
there's a reason that this doll wears white. She's a stormtrooper.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be, because I was watching this. I was like, this demon's a shit shot.
Well, that's the thing. Well, here's the thing. The demon wants the baby. So why would it? So the demons fucking.
I know.
That's what demons do. They fuck with you.
Yes.
Until,
like I get she's fucking with the mom because the mom's looking under the door, but I'm like, damn, you think you'd want to kill the baby in front of the mom?
And she uses the chair to like knock off the door handle, which quickly opens the door.
Yes.
And she saves the baby, and the doll is sitting in front of the window, and it starts to levitate. Like, what the fuck? And then you see that the demon is behind it. You're kind of using it like a puppet.
And you don't, like, apparently she doesn't hear the doll, but you hear it crunching, and I'm like,
yeah. And
here I am, like, nope.
Well, that's the thing is, like, in this movie, this doll does not move. It does not move on its own. It's always like you see the doll levitating, but the demon is controlling. But there's no like. You're always expecting when they do zoom in on the doll that is like it's gonna blink or it's gonna turn its head. But like even in the last movie, she didn't move at all. It was like when Bathsheba goes to the Warren house and turns the head and stuff like that. That's the thing is like the doll. I mean, because that's it. The doll is just a conduit. It's not a livable vessel for the demon. So like the demon can't hop in there and just be like, yo, what's up? It's not like Chucky, you know, like fucking Charles Lee Ray's soul goes into Chucky and he becomes a fucking living doll. That's not what Annabelle is.
Lightning strikes, but like you hear
Give that mandala.
But you hear the preacher say that it puts itself into things like this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
here I am thinking, well, shit.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for this doll to move this entire time.
Yeah.
And there you go.
It never does. And of course, John is coming home and he hears the screaming. He comes upstairs. The whole living room is just thrown around. All the chairs and the couch, like everything's just thrown to shit.
He's like, what'd you do?
Yeah. So they call Father Perez to come and to talk about the whole thing. They show him the doll. He explains the whole thing about how the whole demon thing and how they, have to be in vessels and you have to offer your soul to the demon in order for it to take possession of you. And I love that John's like, well, I don't plan on offering my soul anytime soon.
Yeah, and he's like, that's not how it works, stupid.
Yeah. So he also mentions the Warrens without mentioning them by name.
Yes.
He's like talking about how there's people out east that specialize in this stuff. And then she's like, yeah, I don't want this doll in the house anymore. He's like, it's okay. I'll take it.
Yeah. He's like, let me take it to somewhere that's sacred or something like that. And I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to end well.
No. So they're going to go to bed, and this is the whole thing where they sit down, and he's like, I'll always believe you. And I'm like, fuck you, John. You didn't believe her half the times. Fucking idiot. It wasn't until you came home and your fucking apartment was thrown to shit, you were like, oh, okay, maybe I should do something about this.
He did not believe her till all the chairs were turned upside down, and he's like, oh, what did you do? What happened?
I can't sit in my favorite chair and watch my game. Damn it.
So,
like, this is the first time that he believed her because he saw something happen.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a mild inconvenience.
Listen, he didn't believe anything when the sewing machine.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. He didn't believe her when the sewing machine was came to life.
Yeah.
Or when the neighbors screamed and died next door.
Like, he just believed the police report where they're like, oh yeah, they got killed by this.
Yep.
But he didn't believe her when the sewing machine was going off. Like, you physically saw it and you turned it off. You unplugged it from the wall. And it took you this long to whatever.
So Father Perez is driving back to the church with the doll in the back seat, and I always thought that there was a shot of the woman in the back seat while he was driving, but it never happened. But he's, of course, it's messing with the radio because he's listening to a baseball game, and then it's messing with the radio, and then it's like a prayer that gets like fucking full volume in his face. But he gets to the church.
I called this too.
Takes the doll out of the car, and of course you get the shot of the woman sitting in the back seat of the car, but then he gets about to get to the door, and he turns around and the woman's just standing right there. And as he's about to go in there, he opens the door, and as he's about to go in, the doll won't let him go in, and it fucking just shoots him backwards.
See, we need to record us watching this, because I called it before he even got out of the car and got up to the door. I'm like, it ain't gonna let him in.
No.
She's just fast.
I'm like, I remember the first movie. It didn't let her out of the house. I'm like, why would it let him in?
Yeah, it fucking flings him. He is.
I didn't think it was gonna do that.
But yeah, you think it's kind of like up in the air. Like, did he die? Like, there's a lot of blood around his head, so it's kind of
implied. You're like,
but okay, yeah, it shows the creepy woman grab the doll and walk away.
Because as soon as I saw her in the car, I'm like, nope, it's not going to let him in.
No. So John's working at the hospital, and he notices the nuns. And so he's like, oh, I probably should check that out, because they're all crying. They go in there, and he notices it's Father Perez, and he's like, what the fuck? how'd this happen? Mia and Evelyn, they hang out, and that's when kind of everything just starts going crazy. This is when she tells her how her daughter died. Sorry, it wasn't that earlier scene. But we then go back to the hospital where Father Perez tells John about the evil in the doll and how it wants the baby because a baby can't offer its soul, so it's the easiest way of getting a human host.
Because I said babies can't consent.
Yeah. So John's like, fuck, I got to call home and, let her know. And of course he tries to call her and she picks up, but she can't hear anything he's saying. It's all static.
That's bullshit because when the power goes out, the phones stay on.
No, it's because the demon's fucking with the phone, Dan. Come on.
I know. I'm just fucking around.
Demons.
Unfortunately, there's a lot that I call. He can contest to this. I'm like, she didn't hear anything he just said.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're going to start recording us watching these.
Go ahead.
I can
do it. I need content.
Do it.
So things start happening in the apartment. Leah just disappears. And we get the whole thing where you get a knock on the door. Mia goes to the door and she sees Father Perez outside, but he's like not looking towards the door. He's looking away. And of course she's like, Father Perez? And
because we know that the husband just said, hey, he was in an accident.
Yep.
He's in the hospital.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that because she can't hear that part. And I'm like, that's not him.
Nope.
Don't.
Everybody answers the door with their back to the person.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Dude, if you answered the door and your back was not to me, I'd be going out the back door and be like, fuck no.
And of course, she touches his shoulder, and he's like screams like, "I'll steal your soul!"
No, he says,
"May God have mercy on
may
your
God have
soul."
mercy on your soul."
Yep.
Because that's exactly what plays in his car on the way to the church.
Yep,
you're right.
And because he's trying to fiddle with the dials on the radio, because he's concerned as to why it's saying this, because he's listening to something else.
Everybody knows that old fucking Buick he's got. That shit ain't got no FM radio on it. That bitch is an AM, and everybody knows it.
He knows it.
Just
but,
saying.
My as you're watching it.
Only had FM radio in it.
Because he's listening to something else, and all of a sudden, he's turning the dials. And if you're from that era, you're
from the 70s?
Not the 70s.
Absolutely.
But I'm from the 80s. If you don't hear what you plan on listening to, hey, I know how to dial an FM radio.
Yeah, back before it just was automatically every two digits.
It's not automatic.
Oh, yeah.
I
used to use that shit.
Yeah, it was a good time.
You slowly turn your
dial. About everybody else but us.
Dude, I was expecting him to crash into something.
Yeah, I was totally
too. It looked like he was flying. It looked like he was fucking cruising.
He was going to look up and get hit by a truck.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's going fast. He's not paying attention. I'm like, well, he's going to wreck into something because he's turning the dial. No, fuck no.
He was going to get ran over he was going to get hit by the ghost of the bus that ran him over.
Dude, you're turning the dial. You're not paying attention. You're watching what you're.
Get off your phone, Reverend. Oh, wait, never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Parker. I'm sorry.
But I get it.
So the demon, it kicks Evelyn out of the house, and you see the dolls back in the house. And it wants Leah's soul. So it fucks with Mia's head. She's trying to look around for the doll or for the baby.
You missed his whole introduction into the church. He's carrying this doll. He gets to the door. Door's like, nope.
Oh, I said that.
Yeah, he did all that.
Well, I missed that part. But the fact that I called it.
Angela, we just went through this whole thing about how you called that scene. Where are you going? You're literally repeating everything you just said.
It's okay.
Hey, listen.
It's been a night. Just keep drinking.
Yes.
Oh, shit, I turned it down too low. I can't hear.
We did. Oh, that's why. We can't hear Parker anymore.
No,
he's already did that. He did the thing with he's already knocked on the door.
That's great.
But that, I called it. him in the car,
Yeah, I know.
him to the door.
I know. I'm surprised they didn't throw him out of the house. I'm surprised she didn't pull her. I'm surprised that the Reverend didn't pull her out of her house.
No.
Apartment.
I'm honestly surprised that it let him out of the house.
Yeah.
He should have been kicked past the door.
When he got into her apartment?
No, when he tried to leave with it.
Oh, the doll. Oh, trying to take the doll out of her apartment. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
When he tried to leave her apartment, he should have been kicked back in the. Just from learning the first movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really bound to the location, though.
No,
but
it wants Leah's soul, so it wants to be at that apartment.
But it shouldn't have been taken out of the apartment.
Yeah, I don't know. That makes sense, though. Why did he let the Reverend take her out of it?
To kill him.
Coming from the first movie,
maybe try to kill him.
They wouldn't let the mom leave the house.
That's a valid point. Like, I don't see why I guess just to fill time.
Maybe they just didn't want to play the same. They didn't want to do the same beat that they did in the Conjuring.
That's true. They could have.
They want to be like, well, we already did this, so we'll do something else. We'll just fuck with the priest and fucking think he died.
That's true too, but you see him walking in front of it. I'm like, he ain't getting very far.
No.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, he's like, anyway, go ahead, Parker. Sorry.
So, I missed all of that.
You missed all of it, yet you said that you called it. What are you talking about? So the demon fucks with Mia's head. She sees the doll in the living room, but then when she goes into Leah's room, the doll's in the crib, and she like gets pissed off, and she's like, give her back to me, and then she fucking smashes the doll and throws it, and then she looks at the doorway, and it's the baby, and so you think, oh shit, the demon fucked with her, so she thinks she killed her baby, and the whole thing, but then it turns out to be just another doll, and I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Dude, I know, right? That's what we were talking about when we watched it.
Like this whole scene, I'm like, shit, she's holding her baby.
Because it looked like her baby on the ground.
It looks like her baby. She picks her up.
We were duped as an audience.
But you can't see anything past the top of her head, and I was like,
baby just Velcro to the ceiling. She'll never find her.
I was like,
well,
here. Shit. She's picked her baby up.
Yep.
She found her baby. And he's like, no, it's a doll.
Yeah,
I
bet you it's a doll.
He wasn't paying attention, and I was like, no, she picked up her baby.
Well, no, I saw when you walk in, you see the doorway. It's the baby when you see it, but I was like, there's no fuck, because he could have killed the baby at any time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's her baby.
But that's the thing. That's another thing where you're like, the baby, he needs the baby. So why would he kill the baby? Like,
yeah, you need to be offered up. You can't just like off people.
Before though, you see that the crayon rolls into the hallway, and you see all the writing on the, her
rose art. I mean, no, it's not rose art. Fuck rose art crayons. If you ever had rose art crayons, they suck a dick. They're fucking terrible.
He's like, it better be fucking crayon, not rose art.
Yeah. Every time I see a crayon in a movie.
But yeah, it's got all the writings on the ceiling where it's like, her soul or whatever it was.
Yes.
And she's like, well, what do you want? What can I do? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, your soul. And it opens the window really slowly. And she's like, fine. And so she goes to take the doll, and she's going to,
because Evelyn's been kicked out of the apartment.
Yeah. She's trying to get in. Yeah.
Yeah. And John
Evelyn
shows up.
this whole time has been trying to get back in.
She was kindly asked to leave by the ghost.
Yes.
Well, she was trying to get out. She was trying to get out with Mia.
Yep.
Because Mia's like, no, I have to save Leah. And Evelyn's like, no, we'll get her back. And I'm like,
yep.
Why are you leaving a baby in there?
Yeah.
Evelyn knows this whole time. Evelyn was right.
Yeah, because John comes back home, unlocks the door, they get in there, and they stop Mia from jumping. But of course, it's like, the demon needs to be offered a soul, so Evelyn takes her place, and she jumps. And you see her body and the blood and the doll. And Leah's returned. She just brought back to the crib. And Yeah, and then
Mia this whole time is gonna
I told you,
sacrifice herself.
she's Velcroed to the ceiling, dude.
So, because Mia is trying to tell John and Evelyn that
I need to do this to get her back.
yeah, like this is what I have to do. It promised me Leah back.
Yep.
And then this is why I like Evelyn so much. Like you don't see her enough. You need to see her more.
But yeah, she jumps. You see the body with the doll. Leah comes back, and then you see the body again, and there's no doll.
Yeah, and did you know? And what Evelyn was wearing?
Yes, because I called it. Evelyn is walking back up the steps, and she's holding her chest, and you see her. She is in all white, and she has her red scarf on her head. So as soon as Evelyn gets back in the house, I'm like, as soon as John pulls Mia in from the window, I'm like, Evelyn's gonna sacrifice herself.
It's not worth it. Young and the Restless will be on next week. You have another season's worth.
I think it was telegraphed that she was going to be the one to sacrifice. I mean, who else would have been?
Yeah, but she pointed out when it cuts to the scene when they're both dead on the pavement, Evelyn and Annabelle are wearing the same clothing.
Yeah, because she's wearing the red scarf on her head.
Yeah,
and she's wearing all white. And then Annabelle has the white dress and the red sash.
See, I didn't notice that. She put us like, oh, that's a good hit. Like I like that.
Because I was like, no, I love Evelyn. You don't get to see her enough, but I love her as a character.
So go back to when Mia first gets Annabelle, the doll.
Yeah.
You see her when she puts her on the shelf. There's a black doll with the same outfit.
There is.
I don't know if that is a kind of a foreshadowing.
Maybe.
I'm assuming because it's her and it's also a blonde doll.
Yeah. So Mia's blonde. Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't think about that. That's a good call.
Yeah.
So it's 6 months later, and Father Perez, he's all better now. And they ask, "Hey, what happened to the doll?" Nobody knows. The doll. we thought the police took it, but no one knows where it is.
Because that's what Mia says. She's like, "Oh, I thought the police took it." I'm like, "Nope, somebody's got it."
And it's like whoever comes in contact with it, hopefully they can get some help.
Yeah.
And then we see an old lady going into like a pawn shop or some sort of like thrift shop, and you see the Raggedy Ann doll in the background, and then you see her picking up the Annabelle doll.
You have one.
Yeah. And then, of course, it tells you where the Annabelle doll is currently at the Warrens museum, locked in the case. And it's blessed by a priest twice a month.
Yep.
Go ahead and finish. I got to say something once you're done.
Listen,
that's it. That's the end of the movie.
If I had something that was possessed, I would bless it probably every day.
That's right. You just have like a little, like, you know, those terrariums they have with like Amazon plants that just constantly mist. Just run holy water through that. Just all the fucking time.
It's like the sprayers at the grocery store that cost just once in a just holy water the concept.
I called a lot of this.
Yeah.
With Evelyn sacrificing herself before she's like, there's something else that can happen, and I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna give our opinions on the movie. If you don't care if I do mine real quick, because our son is done doing his thing, so I can go give my opinions and leave. No, it's fine. I'll leave so you guys could. So everybody else can, if it's okay. I know it's slightly unorthodox, but I thought it was an okay movie. My favorite parts were the very beginning, because it was a more grounded situation where you see the people murdered next door, that they end up in the house, and it kind of reminded me when we watched Strangers a little bit, which I kind of get that vibe a little bit. And that part I thought was not so much scary, but kind of unsettling because it felt quote unquote so real.
I did a lot of Friday the 13th in a lot of this.
Okay.
Because I feel like that should have happened in some of like the earlier movies.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it was okay. I didn't think it was scary. I think it was fine for what it was. These aren't my kind of movies, so I'm not the best judge of them. My experience with them is very limited. I didn't think it was particularly scary. There was a few moments. Of course, the the scene where the little kids running around the house was another kind of good scary moment, and then the scene with the elevator and the elevator in the storage area, which I thought, in the basement, which was kind of a cool moment. But other than that, it's fine. I guess okay. We got to see the demon, and I don't really give a shit for the connection to the Manson stuff. But the actors were just whatever. It just felt like they just kind of grabbed just like whatever. Now they're not bad, but like they didn't really wow me in any way. Like in the first movie, I felt was so much more interesting. They had way better actors, and everything just felt better than they did in this movie. But I guess it's passable. I didn't like hate it. I was interested to see what happened in the end, but it was predictable most of the time.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion on it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say
before
goodbye.
you walk away, though, is this movie better than The Conjuring?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Then we got you.
So cool.
All right.
You guys have fun.
Angela.
I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye.
Love you. I'll go get Vic.
I didn't think this was better than The Conjuring just because I called a lot of it. Like, I wish I had been recording because with her in the basement, Mia in the basement, I was like, it ain't letting her out of this basement. I didn't think it was going to do that many times. So I was kind of like, okay, are you going to do something with this? No, I didn't plan on her like running to the exit. Like I was planning on, I'm like watching. There was a couple of times I'm like, before the door opens, I'm like, hey, I'm going to look around the door. I can't look around the door, but I was waiting for something to come closer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan on it being in the stairwell. Like the hands coming out of the claws coming out of the metal part.
Yeah.
Like hearing it versus seeing it, I was like, well, this isn't really scary. I was waiting for her in the basement. As soon as the elevator doors opened, I was like, well, okay. Nothing happened, so this intense scene isn't intense anymore. So there was like a couple places where I called it and I was like, well, yeah, I was right. So it wasn't as intense as the first one was, where I couldn't call it. Like I thought I called it and it didn't happen when I thought it was supposed to happen. It was just, okay.
All right.
So it wasn't as like the things I called happened when they called it, or when it happened. So it wasn't as intense or scary as the first one was. So no, it wasn't as good as the first one.
No, I agree.
Nope.
I definitely. This is there was a few good. I mean, there were some good scares in this movie, some good moments that kind of get you. But to be honest, I was kind of bored for most of this movie. I was just a lot of lull moments where it's just like it's not even tension. There's no tension building. It's just kind of or it's just predictable stuff that goes on. But yeah, there were a couple really good scares that I can give it good credit on, and that doll just is terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is nowhere close to The Conjuring. I think, to be honest, I don't think this is going to be high up on the rankings once we get farther into this universe. It's just kind of a very middle of the road movie with a couple good scares, and that's about it. So it's definitely, The Conjuring definitely is the number one still going into 2 weeks. But actually, before we talk about next week, let's talk about some comments. We got a couple comments for this episode. So thank you to everyone who commented on our post. Our first one is from the Quad Pro Quo podcast, who said, I enjoy the Conjuring universe. I actually think Annabelle Creation is better, but I still like this one. The Satanic Panic angle is always fun.
Oh, yeah.
And we have one from Johnny Browning, who just said, I thought it was fine.
I saw his. He's like, yes.
There it is. Yeah. But those were the only comments we got this week. So thank you to everyone who commented. And
I just feel like some of the intense scenes could have been shortened.
Yeah.
Like the whole elevator scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did it need to be 5? Like
5
her
times
trying
of
to
it
push,
opening?
Yes,
Yeah.
5 times. Like,
holy shit, is this going to end? Like, are we going to get to the next part of this? Or yeah, it got too much, especially when nothing happens. Like when you expect the demon to show up. Yeah, it's just kind of lame.
When nothing happens and she runs to the exit, I would have been like, well, 2 times. Bye.
Yeah.
That would have been me.
Yep.
And the whole claws through the metal.
Yeah.
The metal. Yeah. I would have been like, no, bye.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me twice.
So next week, we are venturing back to the Conjuring world of the Warrens, and we're going to have a guest on the show for next week. We are bringing back our good friend Dustin from the Flicks and Friends podcast.
So I can personally tell him, fuck you, Dustin.
Yeah. He is the one who picked this franchise for us to cover, since he is one of our $5 patrons over on patreon.com/dissect that film. And I let him choose whatever movie of this franchise he wanted to be part of, and he chose 2016's The Conjuring 2, which
he's like,
this is I'm very excited to rewatch
Parker
this.
The Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen stuff, and I was like, shit.
Yeah. So we are covering the 2016's The Conjuring 2 next week with Dustin from the Flicks and Friends podcast. We are very excited to have him back. He's coming in. He's going to be our coming in for his 3rd round here on the show, which is a lot of fun, and we're always excited to bring guests back on the show. So
it's just not Grizzly.
Yeah. So that is it for us. You can follow us at Dissect That Film on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're on Threads now. All that fun stuff. Yeah, so much social media. And we're also on Facebook. I have been posting the episodes on Facebook if for anyone who's interested. I've also been debating on if I wanted to start a Facebook group just to kind of, because people like those things. So maybe, I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, all the links will be down below. You can follow Dan and Angela on all their links, which are down below. I also have my personal links down below. And we have some Patreon. This won't be out until probably the first week of August. I have no idea. We record 2 to 3 weeks ahead, so it's tough to figure out when we are. So you should have all of our $5 patrons should have a lot of fun content over there. We should have a couple of our our Monster Zone episodes. We did release our first
somewhere
one
around there
to the public, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that, where we talked about Food of the Gods. And then we released it's our Patreon show, but we've decided to give a little taste to everybody. And then we have another episode on them over at patreon.com/dissect that film at the $5 level. Also, our Tubi episode our latest Tubi episode should be out. I don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be there. Yeah.
Like SpongeBob,
and also we're going to have a live show because we need to figure out what next movies we're going to be talking about on that Monster Zone show. So we're going to be doing a Dissect That Film live for July. So we got a lot of fun stuff going on, guys. And we're continuing the Monsterverse. The Monsterverse. Why do I keep saying the Monsterverse? We're continuing the Conjuring universe.
It's something.
It's a universe of something.
It's some kind of
There's
universe.
monsters in it, kind of, sort of, if you want to consider them monsters, demons, whatever.
I guess it depends on who you ask.
I think that's about it. So until next time, everybody, I am Brett Parker. That is, Dan's not there, but Dan is there in spirit. Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming. We are Dissect That Film.
He's a demon too.
And this has been the Dissect That Film Podcast, episode 117. We'll see y'all again next time. Bye-bye.